All right, we'd like to get started here and welcome our defending champion, Rory McIlroy, to the interview room here at the 2022 CJ Cup in South Carolina. Rory, you're coming off a great season where you hoisted the FedEx Cup for a record third time. You're making your tour season start here after coming back from DP World Tour starts. Just some opening comments on the state of your game and where it's at heading into the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about my game. You know, it's been a busy stretch for me. Played 6 of the last 8 weeks or whatever it was. So it was nice to take a couple of weeks off and be home. But yeah, sort of continued the form that I showed through the playoffs in Europe. You know, had a decent chance to win at Wentworth, and then a couple of pretty high finishes in Italy and at the Dunhill. So yeah, game feels good. It's nice and consistent. I took a little bit of time off after the Dunhill, and then had my coach Michael Bannon in town last week in Florida. So we just did a little bit of work and trying to get myself in the best place possible for here this week, and then I've got another 3 weeks off before playing the season-ending championship in Dubai over on the European Tour. So yeah, 2 events left, and still I feel like a little bit to play for, right? I've put myself in a nice position to try to get back to number 1 in the world, and trying to finish off the European Tour title over there too. So still plenty of motivation this time of the year, and again, it makes coming to a new golf course makes things interesting, and trying to learn that for the first time. So yeah, excited to be here. Great field, great golf course, and defending a title. So yeah, looking forward to getting going.
Good stuff. With that, we'll open it up to questions. Just raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. Go in front row, Evan. Right here in the white sweatshirt.
Roz, you get a chance to go to number 1 again this week. Just wondering what's your favourite memory about being number 1 previously, and what was a drag? What was more of a hassle than you thought it would be being world number 1?
I think it's sort of the same. So I got to number 1 in the world after I won the Honda Classic in 2012, and it had been a goal of mine for maybe 6 months up until that point. I won the US Open the previous year, and I think I got up to it might have been my first time cracking the top 5. So then it became a goal of mine, and went on a good run. Ended up getting there after the Honda. But I remember waking up the next morning and being like, "Is this it?" You sort of you work towards a goal for so long, and then you wake up the next day and you don't feel any different after having achieved it. So I think then it's a matter of having to reframe your goals and reframe what success looks like, and I think that's one of the great things about this game. No matter how much you've achieved or how much success you've had, you always want to do something else. There's always something else to do. So I guess that's where I say, that's the cool thing about it, is you get to number 1 and it feels great in the moment. And the bad thing is you almost got to work not work just as hard, maybe work harder to stay there. I think it's not, I think when you're striving towards something, not that it's easier to get there, but once you get there, it's great. But I think the hard work is actually staying there, and that's how I think if I get back to number 1 this week, it's like my 9th time getting back. So it sort of illustrates, you can have your runs and you can stay there, but I think the cool part is the journey, and the journey of getting back there, and it's sort of like a heavyweight boxer losing a world title, right? And it's the journey to get that title back, and I feel like that's the cool part of it, and that's the journey that I've sort of been through over the past 12 months.
We'll move to Doug next.
You just answered at the very end there what I was going to ask, but it makes me wonder. I just looked it up. This would be the 9th time you get back. How did you know that? You must have looked it up. Surely you don't know that.
I
off
know
the top of
everything,
your
Doug.
head.
I even knew what question you were going to ask me. That's why I answered it before you asked it.
Do you? Surely you looked that up, didn't you?
I might have researched a little bit.
Okay,
maybe.
fair enough. And then I tend to recall sometime around 12 or 13, it feels like that you used to check your phone, like I think maybe the first time you got to number 1, and they would send a text or an alert or something like that of where the ranking. Do you still do that?
Yeah, so there's two. There's a Twitter handle, VC606. He tweets it out pretty much every Sunday night. So you check that, and then you check the OWGR website on Monday morning just to see where you are in terms of points and how close you could get and all that sort of stuff. I maybe don't keep as much of a close eye on it as I used to, but it's a point of pride for all of us out there to be highly ranked and to get to number 1 in the world at whatever you do is a unbelievable accolade and something that you should be proud of. So obviously I have a chance to do it this week, but I'm proud of the fact that I've at least just given myself a chance again, because I was last there coming back from the lockdown out of COVID in July 2020, and I feel like my game and my life has changed considerably since then. So it's nice to have the opportunity again.
The one in the back in the red jacket.
PGA Tour Haewon Kang. I remember that you mentioned Tom Kim when you won Tour Championship, and Tom was very excited and he posted the graphic that you talked about him. And then I wondered if you watched him, that he playing the President's Cup and he won another tournament, and you are paired with him tomorrow. So I want to get some comment about him and how excited you are to play with him tomorrow.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the journey or the rise that Tom's been on over the last few months has been incredible. He finished second at the Scottish Open, I think, and then winning the Wyndham and starting the way he did and winning in the style that he did was, I think it made everyone really take notice of the talent that he has. And then I got to play a 9-hole practice round with him in Delaware a couple of weeks after that, which was fun to just see him play in person. And then I was watching the President's Cup a lot, and I think there's a lot more Tom Kim fans in the world because of the President's Cup, right? He was really fun to watch. He showed a ton of emotion. He played great, and then he wins in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. So he's been on a great run. He seems like he's a really good character. He's pretty funny. I'm excited to play. I'm excited to play with him this week.
We'll go to Mark in the front here.
Rory, I wanted to get your reaction to Phil Mickelson's comments last week about LIV trending up and PGA Tour trending down, and if you had to guess, where is men's professional golf a year from now, do you think? Do you hope there's more cooperation, or do you think it's the same?
Look, again, I've spoke about this at length, and I think the people that have decided to stay here and play these tournaments, we haven't done anything differently than what we've always done, right? We're playing these events, we're PGA Tour members, we're sticking to the system that has traditionally been there. The guys that have went over to LIV, they're the ones that have made the disruption. They're the ones that have sort of put the golf world in flux right now. So for them to be talking the way they are, it's bold, and it's I think there's a ton of propaganda being used and all sorts of stuff, but I certainly don't see the PGA Tour trending downward at all. All the talent, 95% of the talent is here. You've got people like Tom Kim coming through who are, that's the future of our game. I don't agree with what Phil said last week. I understand why he said it because of the position he is in. But I don't think anyone that takes a logical view of the game of golf can agree with what he said.
We'll move to Adam Schupak next.
Roy, I had to look this up, but a year ago you were 13 coming into this tournament. You had even fallen as far back as 16 in the world. Still a great number, but for you, what was your level of disgust at that time of having your game having fallen to that point?
Yeah, so I didn't have a great run. I played okay through the summer, but not, I think as well it was a perfect storm. I wasn't playing great, and then the tournaments that were coming off my ranking, it's a 2-year cycle, that the tournaments were all like very, very good performances that were still holding quite a lot of points for me. So when they started to drop off, when I started to play averagely, then my ranking just sort of dropped a little more quickly than maybe the ranking suggested. But I finished 4th at the Olympics, and I finished. I finished top 10 at the BMW Championship. I finished top 10 at East Lake as well. So it wasn't as if I was playing poorly. I think the real low point for me last year was the Ryder Cup. Had a terrible Ryder Cup individually. Played poorly. Didn't really help my team that much at all. And I think that was like the reset button for me to sort of think about things. And you think about the golf that I've played post Ryder Cup last year with the win here. I played well sort of into the end of the season over on the European Tour, and then I've been very consistent this year. So it's never fun to feel like you're not getting the best out of yourself. And as I said, Ryder Cup was like a hard reset for me, and I sort of had to sort of think about things and ask myself some tough questions, and thankfully I've come out the other side of it, and I'm better for that experience.
We'll go to Tom next.
Hi, Rory. I have a question for you. And what's it like having so much success as a young player, and coming out and many years on tour? How do you manage all of that?
I didn't have as much success as you're having at such a young age. I think when you start to have success at a young age, I think the biggest thing that I realized is managing your time. You're going to be pulled in so many different directions. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I can see 5 sponsors on you at this point, right? So it's just trying to manage your time to realize what got you to this position, right? Why are you a 2-time PGA Tour winner? Why are you such a great player? And it's the time that you put into it, and it's the practice, and it's not losing sight of that. I think that's the thing. I was speaking here just before you came in about I've almost found it easier to get to number 1 in the world than staying there. I think staying there is harder. I think you've got a bullseye on your back. You need to work harder. Everyone's coming after you, and that's the one thing I would say is just managing your time and not forgetting why you're in this position and why you're so lucky to get to play with me the next 2 days.
Awesome, thank you.
And that was a joke that went over everyone's head. But.
Last 2 questions, Ryan Lavner, and then Garrett. We'll end with Garrett.
Hopefully this is as good a question as Tom. Do you share any of John Rahm's concerns about the 3 non-elevated starts in addition to your European Tour commitments, and would you welcome a scenario in the future, given the strategic alliance, where those tournaments overseas kind of count towards your overall total?
Yeah, so for example, we're going to be able to count so this event for me is going to count. So one in the fall, for example. So, PGA Tour is transitioning to a January to August season. I think everyone sort of knows that. Or FedEx Cup season, should I say. And they're going to let us, for this, whatever you've got your elevated events, but then you've got the 3 that you don't, so CJ this week is one of them for me. So I think John, myself, Victor, Matt Fitzpatrick, Tommy Fleetwood, Tyrrell Hatton, there's a few of us that are in this position that play both tours. And I think, if you can let us play one PGA Tour event in the fall, you let us play, say another European Tour event in the fall, and that's 2 of the 3 mandatory. So then you're really having to only play 1 during the middle of the season. I think that's a good outcome for everyone, and that's something that's been talked about, and I think that could be a sort of good resolution.
In a different direction.
Got to be quick. Tom's waiting.
You got it. In addition to Tom, you're also paired with Ricky as a friend, as a peer of his. What's the importance for the tour in having him return to prominence as one of the marquee players?
It's a big deal. I think I've been really happy to see Ricky play as well as he has over the last few weeks, and it wasn't just the Zozo, but even before that, he started to show signs of getting back to playing the way we all know that he can. And he's one of the most marketable golfers in the world. And I think as the PGA Tour goes forward, I think Ricky there's a reason that Ricky was in that meeting in Delaware, right? He is not only one of the most marketable players, but I think we all believe that his potential is up there as being one of the best in the world. He's shown it before, and I think he will show it again. And he's important. There's a ton of guys that are important to the tour, but I think Ricky just brings a different dimension, a different element to things that make people tune in, right? So I think Ricky being a part of that meeting in Delaware, I think give him a ton of motivation as well. Talking about where the PGA Tour may evolve to in 2024. He obviously wants to be a part of that, but he knows to be a part of that, he's going to have to play a little better. So it's been great to see him start really well, and hopefully it continues.
Last one here with Gary.
Yeah, one other thing on the schedule. What do you think the fall will look like? What do you think it should look like?
Football. It's football season, right? I think we need to get to a place where it's not oversaturated. I would love us to come back in January and people will have missed watching competitive golf. I don't think that happens right now because there's 47 events a year. So I think to get the most fan engagement that we possibly can, we have to let people miss it for a little bit. People, and I'm not comparing golf to football at all, but you think about the exclusivity of the NFL, and they play, 18 weeks a year, and then people are just so ready for football season to start again. I'm not saying that golf's going to be that way, but you got to let people miss it a little bit. So, and I'm not saying we're not going to play any golf in the fall, but the fall is maybe more of a international flavor. It's an opportunity for guys to travel the world a little bit, grow their brands in different countries, and but the real competitive golf season is January to August. That's where I see it.
With that, we'll end. Appreciate the time as always, Rory. Thank you.
Thank you.